This is the Searching the Galveston Tribune presentation. I'm Kevin Kinney. I am an archivist with the Galveston, Texas History Center in Rosenberg. I've been here a little over 5 years now, but as I've said, this is my third year presenting on this. And the Galveston, Texas History Center is the Archives and Local History wing of Rosenberg Library. We are on the 4th floor. We're open by appointment only. We're the archives wing of the Galveston, Texas, archives wing of Rosenberg Library, part of the special collections department. So we collect, preserve, organize archival materials, primary sources documenting the history of Galveston since its very existence to present day. We also collect early Texas up to the Civil War, from the Spanish period to, I believe, Civil War. So, and when I say archival materials, that includes books, manuscripts, photographs, maps, architectural drawings, oral histories, vertical files, ephemera, and we're also beginning to get digital materials. We've gotten CD-ROMs, we've gotten flash drives of material. One example of our collecting initiative is our History Now Galveston during COVID, which is still going, although hopefully we're on the tail end of it. We were collecting people's experience during this pandemic, especially like from 2020 up until, whenever, just how you handled it and so on. So that is, a link that we have to the bottom. So we're just one example of the many topics that we're collecting on. So with that, the Tribune, the Galveston Tribune. This is a newspaper, that evening newspaper, and I'm seeing now that, the link to that COVID initiative. Wait a minute, let me get going. Something here, I'm going ahead of myself. Here. There. So the Galveston Tribune was an evening paper in Galveston. It started around 1880. And just for context, it was a paper that, it was one of many papers that emerged during that time. Galveston was kind of known as a newspaper graveyard. Those who've done newspaper research focusing on Galveston, like just for example, one of the databases that we use is Newspaper Archive. And if you just browse through Galveston, you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of papers from the mid to late 1800s that have come and gone. I'm thinking of the Tri-Weekly News, the Commercial Reporter. There's a paper to the right of me called the Commercial Reporter, Daily Print, and so on. Newspaper graveyard, a lot of papers came and went, or they were merged with others, but the Tribune stood out for a number of reasons. It was the evening newspaper, the evening counterpart to the Galveston Daily News, which still runs to present day. The Tribune ran all through the late 1800s until the early 1960s, when it merged with the Daily News. In fact, there was a period around the 60s when it was known as the Galveston News Tribune. So that's what we do. It's more social, so to speak, than the Daily News, meaning that it covered a lot of news that for whatever reason, the Daily News didn't necessarily see fit to print. It was one of many newspapers that we have here at GTHC in some format. Like I just mentioned, that Newspaper Archive is a database that the library subscribes to. And just on a brief note, it's if you have a library card with Rosenberg, you have access to newspaper archive. You can access that remotely with your library card number. So I just want to make that known. We still use that in addition to the portal, and well, it's really those main two. So. Yeah, and when I say social, one example, I guess, is that, well, I'll get to that when I get to it, so, sure. Tribune, so one thing we've done with the Tribune a few years ago was that there was very select availability via newspaper archive, unlike with the Daily News. So there are only like a handful of years available. We have in our vault, we have this secure vault holding our archival materials, and we have the bound volumes of newspaper, the Tribune, but you'd have to come here to see them. And actually, we don't, they're so fragile. Again, we have the issues going back to 1880s. We're not, a newspaper, the very paper that it was printed on is pretty fragile, and it's not something that we want to be pulling out over and over again. So that was one access problem that we have. We also have select years on microfilm, which is better, but again, it's select, and you'd have to come here, and it limits our access because we want our materials to be available if we're going to put them online. Especially we want them available to everyone everywhere. Basically, that's why we digitize materials. So we put in for a grant with the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services, along with NTSLAC, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. So, and starting in 2020, we sent them our bound volumes. We were able to send the volumes to the University of North Texas libraries. So, that brings us to this. We sent them to UNT libraries. They maintain basically an online catalog called the Portal to Texas History. And this is a catalog available to really anybody online. So that's one advantage right there over newspaper archive, is that you don't need to have a library card with us to access it. So, and I'm seeing one question already. Is there access to Galveston newspapers at the portal? Well, yes, there is. And the Tribune, just stay tuned. I'll demonstrate that. So we sent the papers to UNT to digitize, and what they did was they actually took individual sheets of the bound volumes and they scanned them. They have very powerful scanning equipment, and they scanned them, and they also use what is called OCR, which I think is optical character recognition, such that they're searchable. You put in a sentence, you put in an article title, a name, what have you, and it can search it much the same way, kind of like a search engine, but I would argue even more powerful. So yes, right here. So Texas, Portal to Texas History, and I should have made this clear, but if the links that you're seeing on these slides are going to be made available in the chat window. So if you're not able to click, they should be in the chat window. So just yeah, we have you covered. So the portal is a gateway to rare historical and primary source materials from or about Texas, created and maintained by the University of North Texas Libraries. The portal leverages the power of hundreds of content partners across the state to provide a vibrant, growing collection of resources. So, so by content partners, that's libraries, museums, spanning the entire state. And what makes it very powerful is that you've got libraries either our size, or you also have universities. You also have smaller libraries, like there are a lot of libraries out just in Galveston County alone that are small. They may not, you know, have the capability, I guess, to, scan in-house. Well, the portal provides sort of, well, portal is the perfect word because it allows people to see, to access and research a town. Just, it kind of amplifies their reach, our reach. The portal is one of multiple databases we have here at GTHC. There are other databases that we use. The newspaper archive is one of them, available through our website there. And it's free. Yeah, it's free, and free. Like I said, you don't need a library card. There's no need to subscribe. It's just click on a link, start searching, and you can go from there. In addition to the Tribune, we have also sent other materials to UNT to scan. Those other materials are other newspapers. For example, we have also sending a number of labor papers called, as for example, the Union Review, the Galveston Journal, the Galveston Labor Journal. Those are newspapers from the early 20th century up to, for sure, World War II, or even just after that, covering just news on labor unions, elections, and so on. So that was, and we wanted to have those scanned for basically the same reasons that we wanted to have the Tribune scanned, because those are very valuable, very historically resonant papers with information that up until now was not really available, beyond our building, beyond our borders. So UNT's been good for us for that. We also have our city directories. And the Galveston city directories, they're kind of like the white pages of today. They list in a particular year who lived here, who worked here, what year, when. They work as a supplement to the census, so folks, those of you who are interested in genealogy, the directories are available from 1859 up to 1919. There are some gaps, like, didn't print during the Civil War, I know, but much of that time period, it is available also via the portal. And yeah, Kempner Papers, that's a very prominent business family that also wanted their paper scanned as well, both family and business. So there you have it. So using the portal, well, let me just click on it for myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to one of these links. Here we go. Right, so when you click on, or when you put in texashistory.unt.edu, this is the home page. And what makes it just very simple right off the bat is, like I said, you click on it or you put it in, type in whatever you want, and something should come up. But for our with the and when I say that is search, so you can put in a keyword search. You want to put in, let me see. Well, let me put in a term, one of our most popular research topics, which is the 1900 storm. So you put in 1900 storm, and that's just, you're going to get, looks like 124,401 matching results. And you're going to see here that all kinds of results you're seeing. So everything from scanned photos, postcards, publications, and so on. And oh, here we go. I'm seeing this. This is an example of the city directories that I mentioned that we had scanned here. I just want a brief aside here. So this is the 1899-1900 city directory. It was published a few months before the storm, which hit September 8th, 1900. So kind of a snapshot of time before that epic event. So you're putting in, so you put in 1900 storm, okay? You get all these results, and you're not going to spend, I'm sure you're not going to be spending a lot of, however long it takes to look over 124 results, 1,000 results. So you have these filters on the left, and there are many filters. So you have the partners, that's the number, that's the institutions, including us, that have have their materials scanned and made available here. Collections, that's like the name of the collections. You're probably not going to know that too much. Serial titles, if you're doing specifically newspaper or some other publication research, that's a title there: Baytown Sun, Houston Post, so on. Resource types, that can be useful. Newspapers, you're seeing photos, so there's photographs, postcards, and so on. So it's filtered off in many different media types and media titles. It's also filtered by world regions, where it came from, and so on. So so you can filter it that way. Another way you can do is, another thing you can do, let's go back to the home page. That was a keyword search, which gives you a whole bunch of results, but I think probably an even better search would be what is called a phrase search. And what that is whatever you want to put, whatever you want to search, put it in quotes. So I just typed in 1900 storm. So let's put 1900 storm quotes. And what I expect should happen, hopefully will happen. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, so it went from 124,000 plus results to just over 761, which is still a lot. I don't, you're pressed for time. You're not going to do all of that. But again, you can filter it until it's a more manageable, doable search. So those are two search tools that you can do as your research. So let me go back. So this is the home page. So they make the search bar right there in front of you, so you can get started immediately. So that's one thing you can do. What you can also do is, if you scroll down toward just under that bar, you click on Explore By. And what that allows you to do is, that allows you to explore the collections that I highlighted. So you click over here, and and by the way, you just see all these partners and so on that participate in this. So gives you an idea of the portal's reach. Click over here to, let me do partners. Just list in alphabetical order all the institutions participating. So we know that. Galveston right here. So you click on G under Explore Partners, and you should see right here, Galveston and Texas History Center, Rosenberg Library. That is us. So this is our page, it's kind of our profile, so to speak, within the portal. So I believe the link to that is already in the chat, but this is another way to get to it. So it gives you all the information that we have about us here. What's cool about this is that you can search within our page. So if you looked at you may have noticed that when I put in 1900 storm for both the keyword and the phrase search, you notice you saw other institutions. Well, this gives you the option to search just with us to see what we have. So you see here, latest editions. These are the other papers that I mentioned. So this is the Union Review. So let's go down to the Tribune. So scroll here. Just look at all these collections. So right here, Galveston Tribune. So this is, here we go. So when it started, it was no, in its early years, it was the Evening Tribune, but then it became the Galveston Tribune later in the 1880s and so on. So our earliest issue is April 1885. And I just happened to notice because I track this, as UNT uploads, but if you want to get a sense of just how many years are represented or available, I should say, click over here again to the left where it says filters, you click on years, and you'll see that Tribune issues from 1885 all the way up to 1917 are available. The Tribune ran during its entire run, it ran 6 days a week, daily. So Monday through Saturday, they didn't publish on Sunday. So that's another difference with the daily news. I happen to know, again, because I checked, especially in 1914, that was when World War I broke out, and there were some occasional extras that were printed on Sundays, given the chaos of that war. So I know that, but for the most part, it was 6 days a week. So you can do so as just like you can search within our page on the portal, you can also search within these papers available right here. So like I said, I just put in 1900 Storm. So I'm going to do a phrase search just within these issues, and we shall see what comes up. And so what you've got here is you're seeing 129 results containing the phrase 1900 Storm. I'm just going to click on this one just as an example, even though it's 3 years after the fact. So when you put in a term, you should see, one thing you want to look at when you click on a result is you want to click right here to this green box where it says search number 1. That's you click on that. That should take you directly to where your search term is. So it'll take you towards the bottom. And as you see, top search results, we found one place within this issue, this 1903 issue with your term. And so we're going to click. Here we go. So, and they're kind enough to highlight our search term. So this is how the a scanned image of the Galveston Tribune looks on the portal. And I'll just, as a brief aside, another advantage that the portal has over Newspaper Archive, for example, is that Newspaper Archive for us scanned our microfilm of our issues. And unfortunately, sometimes, especially around this period, the early 1900s, the microfilm itself wasn't always very readable. So whereas the Tribune, UNT, I should say, scanned our original issues. So I also should mention that there are early issues of the Daily News available on the portal as well, not from us, but from another institution around up to the mid 1890s. So they're represented as well, but not through us. So anyway, so this page has our search term. it's not very readable. So you click over here to zoom. That allows us to zoom in, and you can click over here to the left. This is a kind of a magnifier, minimizer. So let's just click on the plus to zoom in. And as we're zooming in, you should see right there our search term. We saw it twice, so where did it go? You can also click and drag this to move it. There's the other instance of our term. So you can zoom in. It's in this article about tax rules of 1903. So as you're putting in your terms, let's just zoom this back out. You can zoom in and out as needed. So let's go back. So as you're putting in your terms, just repeat this until we get it. Okay, so this is how it's going to look when you put your terms in. Let me filter this because I want to go back, because I want to show two issues that kind of really, it shows just how the Tribune specifically reported on the storm. So let's click over here to the filters. Let's click on years. Let's go to 1900. On one result, again, with that term, October 17, 1900. And same thing. This thing, I don't know if you saw it, but when you click on the result from that page, that green box should do a little shake. So to really get your attention. So, but you're going to click on it anyway. So search. And again, it takes you to the page with the term, and we're seeing a whole bunch of instances of 1900 storm. So we'll click zoom. Interesting, it's also giving me both 1900 and storm separately. But it does that sometimes, but it for sure kind of narrows down our search here. So that's another example. So let me get back slide. So yeah, the 1900 storm, popular topic. This is what I wanted actually. Tribune, September 8th, 1900. This was the day that the storm hit. And let me just click. So like I said, this is an example of browsing. I mean, if you happen to know a date of, say, an article, or you just want to explore a paper of a given day, you can click on it that way, but let me just show it because I want you all to know this offhand. Checking the chat. Question so far. All right, let me keep going. Let me go back to our page. So Rosenberg page, go back to Tribune. Go to years on the left. Let's go to 1900. So these are the issues of the Tribune from 1900. I want to go to September. So back to filters on the left. September. Okay, so we are September 1900. Let's go down to the 8th. There. So that's another way to, that's really called browsing. You're just going by year, month, and day. And this is the front page of the Tribune on the day the storm hit. So you see right here, wind and wave from shore and sea. As as I'm zooming in here, the Tribune, it happened on a Saturday, September 8th, 1900. And so this is just probably as close to real-time reporting as you could get from 1900 with the storm. So, and read that at your leisure. There were only, so especially when the early years, there were only like 4 pages of the Tribune. So it was a pretty quick read. Here are some other stories. One thing I noticed also was that the Tribune also printed like short stories, kind of like how they used to do short stories or chapters of books. So very small print as well. Thank goodness we have the magnifier. So, and so yeah, looks like there's, how many pages is there of this? Can I close this thing? Yeah, 8 pages. So I think farther into the 20th century, it went up to 16 pages. So let me go back to the issue itself. So that's September 8th, Saturday, 1900. The next available issue did not print until Tuesday, September 11th, 1900. It would have printed on Monday, but I think given the magnitude of the storm, it just wasn't available. So September 11th here, and pretty stark. I mean, I hesitate to say issue because it's only 2 pages, and it's, you know, reporting the storm, the damage from the storm, saying order is gradually being wrought out of chaos as people realize it's the time for strenuous work, not gossip. It's just down here. The Tribune will make an effort to issue a small edition Wednesday evening. So it's, you know, I think they were pretty busy cleaning up, obviously. And this is just the back of that issue. So to just give an example of how the Tribune reported that, of course, the Daily News had its own thing going on as well. So. Wait, sorry, I think I unshared my screen. 1 second. Back. So yeah, so those are, that's just one topic that you can put in for the Tribune. You can also, it also helps for genealogy, which is probably our second most popular resource topic here at GTHC. So just as an example, if you want to especially look for obituaries, so if you know your person, if you know the person, you know, you can put in the person's name to see if they're in there. If you want to look up, happen to know the date that they died, you can go to, let me go back here. Know when a person died. You can also look by dates, just as we just did with the storm. One thing I can say is, having done research myself, is that especially around for the years we've got, you have to be a little bit creative with your terms if you're looking for an obituary, because especially early 20th century, it was not necessarily called obituary or obituaries. There were terms like necrological, which is kind of a big, broad term for like the study of death or obituaries. There's also mortuary or mortuary report, mortuary news. So mortuary, that's another word that you can put in just to give the section. So that's one bit of news. The Tribune can also be used, the portal can be used to search the Tribune for house property history. If you want to look up your address, so just either your address or the name of a building, the name of a church, the name of a school. It's another thing you can put in. African American history, that's just another popular topic of ours. Again, you have to be kind of creative with terms because back then the terms Negro and colored were also as well. So as I said, the years for the Tribune that we have start from 1885 up to 1917 as of right now. With the grant that we put in, we're expecting issues to go up to 1921. So as the year rolls on, we will have, it should go up to 1921. We're hopefully going to be able to put in for another grant that'll extend us past that. But as of right now, other topics that are covered with the issues available include the opening of Rosenberg Library, all kinds of businesses, steamship lines like Mallory, railroad companies, streetcars, mail, maritime matters. The Great Fire of 1885, which was really the big disaster of this town before the storm, of course. That was November 1885. The seawall, the beginning of the seawall's construction, the grade raising, which was needed to make that possible. Famous Galvestonians like our library's namesake, Henry Rosenberg, Frank Patton, the first director here. Cohen, that's Rabbi Henry Cohen, a great humanitarian here. Edmund Cheeseborough, who was a number of people who oversaw the grade raising. And then some other other stuff like lighthouses, shipwrecks, amusement parks, which were popping up early 1900s, like Electric Park, and other places on the beachfront. I think there was one called, it starts with a CH. I think it was Chips or Chubs or something, but parks were popping up around that time as well. You can also look up the storms of 1909 and 1915. Those were also pretty damaging storms that, came through, but by then we had a seawall. So the seawall took out a lot of the force of those storms. And so the destruction was much, much reduced as compared to 1900. So yeah, and just to reiterate, as I'm speaking, the links in the chat window they're going to parts of our website that are called, they're going to research guides that we have up. If you go to our page, you want to research topics along the top of the page. You're going to see a drop-down menu of all kinds of topics like the storm, seawall, and so on that you can also begin from as well. So, like I said, as issues are scanned and uploaded on the portal over time, it'll cover more topics. For example, more work on the seawall, more work of the grade raising, the construction of the causeway, Galveston Equal Suffrage Association. The issues are already covering World War I, but it'll cover more of that. It will also cover the 1918 flu, which was the last great pandemic over 100 years ago. The lighting of the South Jetty Light, which is this photo right here. It lit November 12th, 1918, one day after the armistice, World War I ended. So also the Free State of Galveston, that was Galveston's just kind of erupting in the 1920s. Kind of became a big gambling hangout, so to speak. So that'll be another thing to be searched as we make this available. At the end of my slides. Are there any questions? So let me stop this. So I think if you have any questions, just type them in the chat and I can search. Or also, if not a question, if anybody would like to have, kind of wants to do a kind of a demo, I suppose, of how to search as well. So first question, do I have a handout or can I share slides? Yeah, I think I can do that. I can make that available. We have your emails, so I can do that. I also want to point out that this, if you haven't noticed already, this is being recorded. So at the conclusion of this presentation, well, shortly after this presentation, it'll be edited into a video and made available on our YouTube page. So, so it'll be available as well, both via slides and our slides and also via YouTube. So something right quick. Another question. Actually, well, that was not the last slide. Hold on, let me go back here. So questions. Share my screen one last time. Because I'm answering another question that just came in. Our hours to make appointment. This is my last slide, okay? This is the location, so on. So our hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. Ask an archivist, you can send the email there, or you can call this number to, if you have any reference question or at all, of anything, you know, that's our contact information. Our appointments began at 9:30 up to 4:30. And the way that those work is that pull items in advance from our manuscript collection. So we need to know what specifically you want to look, whether it's one of our archives, if it's one of our books, photos, vertical files, what have you. So that's kind of how that works. So there you go. Stop. Okay. So our manuscript collection on WorldCat. So our primary sources are not, but I believe books of the library are. So, and when I say books, I mean books for sure in the adult services department, which is separate from us. Big difference between us and them is while we do have books in our collection, our books cannot be checked out, whereas adult services can. So that's, just want to make that also known as well. Okay, any more questions? Let me see. If not, then, well, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And I just want to say one last thing. Last thing is, and that one last thing is that please complete the survey. The link is on the chat window. It helps helps us qualify for the grant that made this possible, and also other grants that we may need to put in for. So we would appreciate you if you fill that out over time. So, all right, well, that's it for me. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to end this now. But if anything pops up like after this, then feel free to call us or email us at the information provided below. So with that, I bid you farewell.